We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for a TechNTortillas special bulletin. Yesterday, September 30th, 2025, Nicholas Dementure had a successful liver transplant. TechNTortillas would like to thank Sierra Dementure for donating her liver and the staff at University Hospital for the successful surgery and continued care of our siblings. When my brother woke up yesterday, his eyelids peeling back, the fluorescent light bathing him, he thought three things. First, he thanked God for getting him through the surgery. Second, he thanked his family, his wife, his daughter, his parents, and his siblings, and his in-laws, and everyone else who has made it possible for him to get here. And third, he thanked Texas Tech football because they're going to hang half 100 on the Houston Cougars this Saturday. And that's a guarantee.
He did not step out of bounds, and Harold just put this up.
Oh man, this is Coach McGuire at Texas Tech. Heard you going through some stuff, man. I just want to tell you I'm praying for you, and I know you're going to fight your tail off. Just realize better days are ahead. Just keep waking up every morning when your feet hit the floor. Be thankful. We talk about that all the time. We talk about how lucky are we, and it doesn't seem like it is sometimes, but how lucky are we? I'm praying for you, bro, and just want you to know it's a great day to be a Red Raider. Wreck 'em.
Find out. Everything runs through.
TechNTortillas.
Everything runs through.
TechNTortillas.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tortilla Talk with Dallas and Troy today. I wanted to give a brief update. Nick just successfully had his liver transplant and wanted to give out a shout out to our little sister Sierra who donated her liver, but both Sierra and Nick are doing very well in the hospital right now. And so we wanted to say thank y'all for everybody that's kept us in their thoughts and prayers. But if you saw the last video and you hadn't had a chance, we give a little bit of a better update there, but wanted to let everybody know that they are doing well. And we do appreciate everybody's support during this time. So thank you to everybody who tunes in on this for a weekly basis. But with that, Dallas, how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Glad here. Nick and Sierra are doing well. I'm sure Nick's looking forward to this game on Saturday as much as anybody. Get to watch the Red Raiders go at it again.
Oh yeah, man, he's been so amped for this season, and even before. I think one of the first things he's texted me, we were watching the Houston Oregon State, and he just kept texting back and forth with me like, "Oh man, we're gonna kill this team," and X, Y, and Z. So I can have a pretty good understanding of what he thought was going to happen this game, and I'll try to give his prediction on that as well. But yeah, appreciate it, bud. So what we got going on today is we're going to cover the Big 12 standings. We're going to give a brief look at that. We'll obviously talk about some Big 12 games this week and really dive into the Houston versus Texas Tech game. And so with that, we'll kick it off on the Big 12 standings. And so pretty busy week thus far. So here are the Big 12 standings. So really wanted to look at this and see where we're at today. And so we got a couple of teams bunched up at the top. Obviously, there haven't been many Big 12 games played as of yet. But we have a pretty good feel of who are contenders and who aren't. And so with that, obviously we got a massive win with Utah under our belts, and Utah kind of came back to life with a easy game against West Virginia. But you can see Iowa State, Arizona State, with both having 2 wins, and also 2 teams that were early predictions that had decent odds to be Big 12 favorites. And so obviously that's not a surprise. BYU. And then Houston, which is a surprise, but again, early on in the season. So you do have Texas Tech, who is the heavy, I say heavy, but, decent favorite to win the Big 12 as of now. And Cincinnati, who is another one up there that has been surprising some teams. But Dallas, anything that's caught you or any teams that you want to touch on thus far?
I do think you're seeing kind of like an upper tier of the Big 12 separate, and then kind of a middle tier, and then the rest all might be the same, except for Oklahoma State and West Virginia, who just seem dreadful. Um, but yeah, I think it's if obviously the betting odds show it, but I think that Tech, Iowa State, Arizona State, or two of those three teams are probably going to make up Arlington, at least from the looks of it now. You got like a middle tier of Utah, maybe Cincinnati's in there. We'll see. They've got a big test this week. Um, and then like TCU. But I think the conference is, a little bit more top heavy than it's been in years past.
Yeah, I do too. And I think some of the like national pundits are starting to realize that as well. It just definitely feels like um, there definitely is tiers to this. And, more and more people are talking about Texas Tech, but I completely agree with you. Iowa State and Cincinnati game is going to be fascinating this week. I mean, Cincinnati will get a chance to show, if they are a true contender, and obviously it could damper Iowa State's odds to do that. That being said, they are playing on the road in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati was a favorite as of today, at least. I think a 1.5-point favorite. So that's interesting. I know Sorsby's been playing extremely well, but that will be a game I kind of want to key in on. Another one that will kind of be interesting too is Kansas State Baylor, some of those middle tier teams. But I don't know if it's safe to count Kansas State out of this. I mean, they've shown a decent amount of resolve. I know they still have a long ways to go, but they kind of remind me of kind of how Kansas was last year. It's almost like they flip-flop Kansas and Kansas State. Whereas Kansas State could play spoiler to a lot of teams in the Big 12. And obviously it's still early, so they still have a shot at it as well. But don't let those how many losses they have already? 3 losses fool you.
Three.
I do
I,
think that's an interesting
yeah.
team bookmark this week.
I mean, I do think that like Dylan Edwards coming back does add a different dynamic to the offense. But at the same time, that Kansas State defense isn't the same squad that we've been used to over the last few years. So I don't see them making a run at Arlington or anything, but I could see them fighting back to maybe make a bowl game.
Yeah, and Kansas was the same way last year, right? Like they didn't
Yeah.
they ended up making a bowl game, but they were definitely a better team than their record showed. And obviously they have that same caliber roster Kansas State does that can definitely play spoiler to folks if you don't take them seriously. Arizona State on a bye this week, right before going into Utah. So obviously we can touch on that next week, but that will be a really big game for the Big 12 standings. And so we'll want to continue to look at that, but that will really let them showcase who's really a contender in this league and be pretty big if Utah drops that. Outside of that, I mean, I don't see too many games that, really light my hair on fire, but any other ones that you want to touch on?
No, I mean, oddly enough, I feel like there's like a decent amount of people that are picking you to get upset here, which almost feels like they don't just want to say, "Oh, Tech's gonna blow them out of the water," because all the evidence and stats seem to maybe suggest that. Um, but we'll see. I don't. It's not like a loaded Big 12 slate. I do think that the Iowa State Cincinnati game will probably end up being the most interesting one, just as in closeness and what it means for the Big 12 title race. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most of what I've seen, and I haven't caught up too much, with too many podcasts or anything. But I mean, a lot of the people were taking Tech that I saw to cover the 11, 10.5. And so I haven't seen too much of that, but I haven't been on top of it this week with everything that's going on. But I could see us waltzing in there and doing just fine. But to your point, plenty of games this week. Nothing that's too crazy. I'm excited about that Iowa State Cincinnati game as well. We will see what happens. So super excited for that. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the Texas Tech versus Houston game. Playing at Houston. What are your overall thoughts for this one? I guess set the stage for us.
I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty cool setting in that I expect there to be at least as many Red Raider fans in the stadium as there are Houston fans. That uh, link to the like fans discount code went all around Twitter. I think a ton of people bought that. There was like a huge spike in sales on their website. They sold out like I think it was like 14,000 tickets or something in a couple of days after we beat Utah. Um, so I expect there to be a huge tech contingency. It's insane to me that they're doing the blue out game with Tech coming to town. Like we're all just gonna wear red, and it's gonna be obvious who the Tech fans are. You could have done a red out and blended
Would have blended
everybody
in.
in. Yeah, but now you're gonna be on ESPN, and I guarantee you, the commentators like one of the first things they say and probably harp on the whole game is how many Tech fans are in the crowd. So love that for us. I think that gives us a huge edge, and not that we need any more of it because I think we're much more talented than this Houston team.
Yeah, Houston coming off an interesting win against Oregon State. I don't know if you caught much of that game, but traveling to Corvallis, night games. I know anything can happen up there. It's a pretty good atmosphere, especially with that black sky in Oregon. Sometimes it feels a little more intimidating, But squeak by with a fourth quarter comeback in a game in which they didn't have much going for them until that fourth quarter. Luckily, they were able to get things going. And, a common opponent as well, right? Obviously, we played Oregon State with a weather delay and still took care of business. But yeah, you at least have that to kind of as a measuring stick. But, not all games are created equally. Luckily, the opponent was the same. And so I think we have a good idea of that. But anything that caught your eye, I guess, with that common opponent and anything to touch on there?
I mean, I think just the way that like Oregon State was able to run the ball against them. I don't have the stats pulled up, but I think they had like nearly 200 rushing yards, and Oregon State ran for I think 9 yards against us.
Yeah.
So that that really said something just about like the differences in the defense. I know Houston's had a pretty salty defense the past couple of years, but where they're maybe more bend don't break and force you to make a mistake and long drives, Tech's just overwhelming and swarming, suffocating, all the adjectives you want to use to describe an elite defense. I think we have that. And this is what everybody else has said about this game is how in the world is Houston going to score enough points to win?
Yeah, Dallas, just pulling it up. They rushed for 189 yards, threw for a 200 on a 20 for 30 performance by Malik Murphy. But yeah, totally were able to run it on them. Had a couple of receivers. We were used to Trent Walker. He was pretty consistent there. And then the other thing to touch on there too, they had 3 sacks in that game. And so, you think about the pass rush, that will be something that we can touch on in a little bit. But an Oregon State team that was able to get some pressure, on Connor Wegman, which will be something which, we will key on here in a little bit as well.
Yes.
But with that being said, Behren Morton's making his return. So anything you want to talk about there?
Yeah, I think, you know, even though it's a tougher defense, maybe above average, I do think like the scheme really favors him. The PFF show mentioned that he's like the highest graded quarterback against zone coverage, which is exclusively what Houston runs. And so if you've got a Baron Morton back there who is able to be protected, pick apart the zone, maybe a Houston defense that can get run on. I mean, you get Jacoby Williams out in the open field. Cam Dickey's really come on. I man, I know there's a lot of people predicting like a low scoring game on both sides, like maybe Tech in the 20s or low 30s. I don't think that this is much different than the Oregon State game, to be honest. I think we throttle them.
Yeah, I excited for Morton to come back. I know there were some people that were talking about the Morton Hammond conversation, and obviously Joey made the rounds with it being our bye week this week, and it came up, and Joey's saying, hey, we got Hammond locked up for another year, 2-year contract. but at the same time, Morton had a decent game. Both the picks that he did have were, arguably not his fault, underthrown, sure. But, he's coming back, should be able to pick this team apart. And with that, what are your thoughts overall on how the defense ends up playing out for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like a perfect setup for Tech's defense. It's a Houston team that wants to kind of slowly grind on the run game, have Connor Wegman take a couple shots, some short intermediate passes as well. And I think this defensive line is going to have the best game of the season. They'll probably play a little bit more than they did the first three games. And now you won't be going up against, a couple of first round tackles at Utah, in which, I mean, our edge rushers did win those battles. I mean, you got Dalton Merriman at right tackle, who's going to have to go up against Romello Height. I mean, we saw some examples of what it looked like when he just went up against decent pass rushers last year. He is going to be in a world of hurt. They, the Houston's tight end, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's one of their best pass catchers. I don't think that they can use him on routes. They're going to have him chipping, staying into block, max coverage if they want to try to push the ball down the field. Because even if they do, there were examples against Oregon State where they blocked 7 guys and we'd have 4, almost all of them get free and get right in the quarterback's face. So I think the defensive line's got to be licking their chops looking at this game. I mean, it's just a matter of, do we take the opponent like seriously enough and come out and jump on them right away, or is, like people have said, are we reading our press clippings, thinking our shit don't stink, and all those things. So
Yeah, we remember how we came off the bye week against Baylor last year, so obviously didn't feel great off of that. I do think this team, one, is obviously more talented, and so hopefully they aren't thinking that way. And I do think we come out in a hurry. I just remember that first drive against Utah and how the defense came out and what was it, 3-and-out or whatever. So I do think that they're very capable, and I don't think this is one that we will take lightly. Luckily Houston is 4-0, and they are having a good season. Better than they have in the past year. So, we don't want to come back on a little spot. But yeah, super excited for that front four. After watching the Oregon State for Houston game, it felt like Wegman, up until that fourth quarter was, oftentimes, obviously he can do a little bit of both run and pass, but he oftentimes was out of the pocket, getting rushed, and was very susceptible to the rushing attack. And so, I do think we're going to feast on that piece. It will be the first time that we are challenged maybe in the passing game, because Utah was very focused on getting the ball out a little bit more quicker. So if you think about on the power 4 level, this will be a little bit better of a passing attack than we have seen. Albeit if Devin Dampier was truly hurt or not, they usually get the ball out pretty quick there at Utah regardless. So this will be more of a passer that can get the ball downfield. So excited to see how that plays out as well. Is there anything that you're thinking of with our back four in this setting? Do you think we'll be fine there?
yeah, I mean, I think that the secondary really proved something against Utah. Like you said, Utah doesn't have exactly like a great downfield passing attack, but I mean, they had absolutely nothing downfield. We got everybody was in the receiver's hip pocket. And it's not like Utah, or Houston rather, has like a bunch of extremely explosive, quick, fast wide receivers that can really create some space against those guys. They really rely on their tight end to be the guy that gets the offense going along with their running back. So, I think it'll be a really simple game plan from Shield Wood. He'll sit back in coverage and just let the front four wreak havoc.
Yeah, and I was looking at the injury report too. I know they had a couple of receivers that were out. It doesn't look like it's any of their main ones though. And you touched on a tight end. There was a tight end that was out, but it's not, again, their main one, who is definitely up there for reception. So he is their blanket on that team. But to your point, that pass rush could put a wrinkle with that, especially if we're just getting to them with 4. You may need to utilize him in that blocking scheme to ensure that he does get an extra blocker on there. But yeah, I do think overall we've seen our guys in the back four play fairly well. Drawing a blank, but somebody who has the 3 interceptions already, this is a game. Yeah, Pollock, has been playing stellar, and this is a game where they might have a couple more opportunities, especially if you can get ahead early. Obviously, they'll need to be throwing, which is what happened to them in Oregon State as well, right? They were down 2 scores and were forced to throw it. Hopefully that didn't spark anything as well. Wegman is a very capable quarterback, and it has shown that he can throw it. So, hopefully that that rushing attack can really put a damper in their mood.
Yeah, I think the Oregon State, comeback maybe said more about Oregon State than it did Houston. I mean, just completely choking on special teams twice, which there might not be a worse special teams unit in the country than Oregon State. We saw what they had to do with their punt unit against us, which was insane. They got 2 field goals blocked in that game against Houston. But I mean, I went back and looked against Tarleton State, Houston had to punt the ball 7 times. So I just don't know how they score. I keep going, they're gonna need a defensive touchdown or special teams something to go crazy for them to be able to put up points. Um, I can see a scenario where, you know, our defense continues its streak of not giving up any touchdowns before the 4th quarter of the starting defense, and who knows what the score is by then. I know it sounds like I'm way too confident, but after what I saw at Utah, I think we're gonna just blow them out.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. We'll get into our predictions here in a second, but relative to the offensive side of the ball, anything that you anywhere else that you're kind of keying in on here?
I think penalties just overall as a team, there's been the first few weeks, I know we're one of the most penalized teams in the country, but it's been kind of different areas and groups. The first couple of weeks, it was almost all special teams. And then the Utah game was all offensive line and a couple defensive pass interference penalties. Um, Clean that up. I want 3 or fewer penalties in this game, really clean stuff. I would like to see, in the running game, us be able to get big, chunk consistent plays, 6, 7, 8 yards, rattle several of those runs off in a row, because it kind of feels like right now we're a little uh Jekyll and Hyde with the running game. We have big explosive plays and then 1 yard, 2 yard run right into a brick wall. So I'd like to see the offensive line maybe continue to mesh there and open up some big holes.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point with the penalties. I mean, coming off a bye week, if you can't limit those and you can't be more disciplined, obviously that's probably a bigger issue. So hopefully they definitely get that cleaned up coming off of this bye week, and are more disciplined. I really like the call out too with the running backs. I do think they're coming along very nicely. They're both very young, and Dickey and Williams, and they both provide such a great different style almost, but both are very effective. And so hopefully we can see it all kind of culminate together with Dickey really giving that Taj Brooks type feel, being able to bust off those chunk runs, which he has shown some, but yeah, on a consistent basis, that opens up the pass game for your 3 receivers, the primary ones, Anik and Douglas and Virgil. But hopefully with Behren coming back, we can get some chunk plays as well, open up his confidence. Because coming off that injury, I know he's a confident guy, but you really want to get him going as well. So, I
I would
think
love to see him scramble and do a traditional slide also. Just they talked about that in the press conference. I think that they were teaching him how to slide, which I don't know how do you get to be in your 5th year of college football and not know how to slide.
Yeah, you know what? Hopefully, that's a good thing to practice during the bye week as well. Is
Or if nothing
sliding.
else,
So,
stop landing on your injured shoulder.
yeah, it's
I
like he
hate
almost
that
proposed
move.
to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
good call. So hopefully we get all those things, and he has a great game, and throws for another 300 yards and a few touchdowns. So we will see what happens. But with that, Dallas, what is your prediction for this game? What will be the outcome?
I think Texas Tech wins 48-6.
48-6. Oh man.
I like. I feel really good about this game.
Yeah, I do too. I'll I was laughing at I think I sent a tweet in the group me, but Joe Clapp put on there that what Tech was going to win like 48-14 or something. A Houston fan commented on. I was like, mother effed him and whatnot. But I mean, this is a spot where they don't get too ahead of themselves. They don't take it lightly, and they are able to put that kind of beating on them. I do think we will be able to put up points, and it's really dependent on Wegman and if he can handle the pressure that is heading his way. But I'll say the score is gonna be 42 to 17, probably. And with the Texas Tech being able to cover and make a statement win coming off a bye week, I do think this is a changed Tech team that obviously has it going for him on all sides of the ball, and had a bye week at the right time to get their starting quarterback injured or healthy. In addition to that, fix the penalties that's been hampering them as well. So super excited for that. But any final thoughts for this?
Yeah, I really hope like Tech jumps out like to a fast start, obviously, but it would just be so funny to me if we jump up like 14-0 in the fourth quarter and there's like a loud Raider power chant you can hear over the television. And I mean, what does that do to a Houston team that, our fans take over their stadium as they're getting just bludgeoned right off the bat? I think that's where, you could see a game get really out of hand really quick.
Yeah, totally could see that, and I don't feel like it's going to feel like a traditional home game as well. So hopefully that will help us out. That will probably ease Behren Morton's nerves as well, coming back from an injury. So super excited for this game. Every week is a new week, and luckily Tech football is back with us. So with that, Dallas, thanks for joining me today. Kept it short and sweet, but thanks to everybody for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Everybody have a great day. Wreck 'em.
Wreck 'em.